What's going on today, Internet? Selfish here with Retrospect. Today we are going to take a look at the MagicX XU Mini M. This handheld I've been waiting to come out all summer. I believe it was supposed to come out in June. It was originally announced and supposed to come out right around the same time as we saw the A30 come out, as well as the RG28xx. This handheld has a lot of potential and it's already starting to see it. We are going to do a first look video here today, but we're also going to take a little snapshot of the future. And it's been updating really fast. Let's take a look. When you get the XU Mini M, it doesn't come in a box, at least not if you order it from Ampone over on Aliexpress, which is one of the people that I like to buy things from just because I know that I'm going to get them and they are going to be correct. Now, they did not provide this for me, but that is where I got it. There will be a link down in my thingamabob if you decide you want to pick this device up. They seem to be the most reliable source I could find at launch. It happens to come from them in a pill case similar to the one that the Miyoo A30 came in. Almost an identical case, actually. I could probably pull the other one out and you could take a look at it. Why didn't I do that? Why wasn't I prepared for that? Which is a case that looks just like this. So that's the case for the Miyoo A30. This new case is just slightly bigger, but these things fit pretty much anywhere. Anywhere you can fit your sunglasses, you can put one of these cases. Probably don't have to worry about it as much as your sunglasses either. So here we go. We're just going to open this up. On the inside here, when you do get the handheld, it's obviously laid out pretty simply. I do like that they use a zipper pocket here on the top just because in the Miyoo one, things are kind of flopping around. But they also include a lanyard, which I think is genius for this particular handheld because it is one that kind of does seem like it could use a lanyard. So we do have that going for us on this particular device. We do obviously have our Type-C charging cable. This one is a 5-volt, 1.5 amp charge. Most of them are 2 amp, just so you're aware. Your same charger is going to work just fine on it. It also looks like it does come with a screen cover, which is awesome. And because the device is small, they give you really tiny wipes. It's got only a 2.8 inch screen, so they don't want to waste any of the wipes. They don't want to give you one big enough where you might have a little extra liquid on there. They'd rather have you run dry first. Anyways, carry on. And they also do supply an origami accordion. So this does have pretty good directions on it if you are going to keep the operating system the way that it is, because everything kind of has its own thing going on. This is particularly, I don't know. You can figure it out on your own if you've been around this for a while, but if you're new to it, this will kind of give you an idea of what you need to do. Don't know if there's anything more to say about it. The G button kind of confuses me because sometimes it's system and sometimes it's not. Also, why did they put a G spot on here? Well, anyways, we'll get over that. When it comes to taking the handheld out of here, you know, just take it out, whatever. I did go with the orange, as you can see. This is the handheld itself. Now, you are going to notice some differences on here, and we are about to go over the I/O. But one thing I do want to point out also is if there is updates for this handheld, they actually do have the update link right here inside of the box. It's like stickered in here, but it's like a sticker that doesn't come out. Also, there was a new software update that came out the day before I filmed this. So there is actually a new stock software experience. I have not yet downloaded it. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm doing this review because it is as a first look how you would get it out of the box. Now, with all that stuff out of the way, we will take a look at the handheld itself. We will go through the I/O real quick, as we always do. We will start at the top. We do have our shoulder buttons, left and right triggers. These are going to be micro switches, and we do have our volume up and down, as well as 2 C-holes, an OTG and then one for charging. We do have a vent here on the back. On the left-hand side over here, we do have your internal TF hole for TF1. If you do want to expand it, you go over here onto the right-hand side. You can add additional memory to the device from the right-hand side over here in TF2. On the bottom down here, we do have our power and reset buttons. We also have speaker holes and a 3.5 hole. So all of our audio is done through the bottom, including turning it on. On the front here, we do have our start and select buttons, micro switches. We do have our D-pad. It's interesting. It works pretty well for the most part, but it does get some accidental horizontals, but I don't think the D-pad was their focus here, to be honest with you, and we'll get into that. And then we do have our face buttons, our ABXYs. These are interesting because they're so flat, so I always call these the pill buttons because they look like and feel like pills. These even more so because of the chalky finish on them, feel more like pills, and because of the flatness on them, but they work pretty good. I don't have any real complaints about them. They're just kind of they're there. And they work. They have a decent amount of travel. They don't get stuck underneath the shell. Let's see if we can get it in there for you. So, as you can see, they're not stuck. We'll go to my poker cam here for you. Not stuck underneath the shell. Decent amount of travel. Now, the joysticks here are the bell of the ball. These do feel almost identical to the ones out of the Retroid Pocket 2S. This is one of my favorite handhelds ever made with a 3.5 inch screen. Very comfortable to use. I don't use it enough. I know we talk about this as reviewers as this being like the handheld to beat for sub $100. It really is. There's just so many that come out that it makes it difficult to find time to play it because we're testing a lot of 3.5-inch screens, but this thing is phenomenal. I hope Retro comes out with a new version of this. Not quite as much as I hope they come out with a flip, but that's for a different video. But yes, so we do have these joysticks on here. These Hall sticks are phenomenal, and we will talk about them more as the video goes on. Let's go over the specs of this real quick because it is unique to this handheld. This has a CPU in it that is not found in any other handhelds right now. I'll throw the specs up here on the screen for you just so you know what I'm talking about and have a reference, but this does have a 2.8-inch IPS full view display, and it is 640 by 480. Its CPU is an RK3562. This is the first RK3562 that we have seen in a retro handheld device. This should be similar performance to the RG3566, but a little bit better, which is weird because the number is a little bit smaller, but this should be a little bit more efficient version of the RK3566. So we should get a little bit better performance out of this in the end, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. It's running the Mali G52 GPU. It does have 1 GB of DDR4 RAM, 8 gigs of internal storage. It says it has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It does not have these things on a first look video as you get this particular device out of the box. In fact, I'm not convinced it actually has Wi-Fi on board. I know it does have a Bluetooth chip though, and we'll get into that here in just a minute. Card support is expanded up to 512. Interestingly enough, this is one of those few budget handhelds that actually has a vibration motor in it, where I don't get to go make a video to show you guys how to put a vibration motor in it. They just took an entire video away from me by putting it in there, but good for them. We did talk about the Hall effect joysticks, which are phenomenal in this device. It does have 2 1-watt speakers, and those are going to be firing out of the bottom right here, right next to your 3.5 headphone jack, which I discussed earlier. It doesn't only have a 2600 milliamp battery. It does actually last pretty well. They say 6 hours. I mean, depending on what you're playing, you might be getting 6 hours out of it, but I think it does very well for what you have, and it charges relatively quick. This is running a custom version of Linux that's specifically made for this device, and part of that is just the fact that it has a 3562 in it, so nobody really has anything ready for this as far as drivers and things like that go. It's an unfortunate thing because right now, this is actually running a backend essentially for the 3326. So instead of running at 1.8 gigahertz like it could, it's running at 1.3. The system's actually nerfing it pretty hard. So I don't want to go through a ton with that right now because we've seen 1,000 3326 handhelds and how they work. I will kind of show you what the operating... Oh, and I forgot one thing going over the front of this device when we were doing everything. It does have a G spot. There is a G button right here that sometimes opens the menu with the stock operating system. I think that could be made as a function button going forward, and I don't know why they used a G, but they did give it a G spot. Totally forgot about the G spot. It shall remind you that every time when you do. And I lost my train of thought. So we will go through okay, and back to going through a little bit of the operating system. Sorry about that tangent. The operating system is very nerfed, which if you've used any MagicX devices before, which would potentially only have ever been the XU10, which is one of my favorite 3.5 handheld vertical devices that's out there. I've talked a lot about it in the past. I was one of the first people that really supported it. There is custom firmware for that now as well to unlock it, but from the factory, MagicX is notorious for locking these devices down, and I will give you an example. From the home screen here, a good example would be if you hit your G spot, you actually only have a couple of options that really have to do with restarting and shutting down the handheld. Now you can get a little bit more in the weeds with this. If you actually go into a specific system and hit it, you actually can get some controller settings as well as things to control your game collection, how you have it organized, and some additional system settings that really don't matter. Your limitations would be. So we'll just go on the first game here on PSP. I think it's Castlevania, and I'll show you kind of how the PSP menus work. So if you've ever used PPS SPP before, you know you have a lot of things you can tweak and change and stuff like that. Now you are going to get a traditional controller menu out of there, but not a whole lot else. So if you hit the G spot and you go in here, you only get control options. You get your save, continue, load, but you only get control. But it is the traditional menu for controller setup that you would get in PPS SPP. So it's limited to the point where you can use the application, but you can't really do anything with it. It's interesting how that works, and you'll see that in other systems as well. Say we go into tools, the only thing you can do is test your controller, but if you go into like, okay, so Wonder Swan, we're going to go into a game, just a random game, and I'll show you kind of what the menu system looks like when you go in there. We're going to go into RetroArch here real quick, so you hit the G spot, and then your only options are going to be this. You know, you can save states, start, resume, whatever, and then you do have access to the RetroArch cheat menu, which is pretty sweet, but you're not seeing a whole lot else other than that cheat menu. So each system's going to be a little specific to that system on what you have access to, but they're all going to specifically only be something like that. Because this is more powerful technically than a 3566, you are going to see systems like Dreamcast on here and ports. You can actually, with some tweaks and things that we'll talk about here in a second, you can actually get as far as running Portmaster on here. But you are going to have obviously your PlayStation, PSP. This does very well with Nintendo 64 out of the box. I would say it's probably one of its more strong systems as far as the higher end 3D systems go. All right, so I'm going to show you a little bit of N64 here. This is going to be the fifth time I try this, but we are going to do this just to show you that it plays at normal speed. I think I changed the camera now so you can actually see the screen, because before it was facing the table. And we're just going to go through and play here quick. We're not going to go through a whole game or anything. I just wanted to show you kind of that it plays. So as far as the 3D systems go, this tends to be one of the harder games to emulate. Not an issue with this particular handheld, even with it running at 1.3 gigahertz versus the 1.8 that it's going to run at. So you know there's some definite potential here to run some higher end systems. Yay! I made it that time. I guess that probably doesn't make sense to you because you haven't seen me crash and burn like the last 7 times I tried doing this, but anyways. So that'll give you a little idea how that works. Now, uniquely to N64, if you do want to get out of N64 and go back to your main menu, in this particular system, that's where your G button comes in handy. It just brings you home, or whatever G is. It brings you to the garage if you're playing F-Zero. So I'm going to show you a little PSP here real quick, just so you can see, you know, what we got going on here. It works just fine. I don't know if you'd want to play PSP on a screen like this. It would probably make my eyes hurt after a while, but I wouldn't really mind it. This is a very comfortable handheld to use, other than the fact that I don't know what to do with all my fingers because they don't all fit around it. So typically when you're holding a handheld, you can kind of hold on to it. This particular handheld here has a little bit of dead space, and sometimes my ring fingers even come off of here. Actually, most of the time they do, especially if I'm using the shoulder buttons. That is one thing that is a little unique to this handheld with its size. I would say with the A30 and the 28xx, and maybe even the Trim UI Smart, you are kind of more holding it with your fingertips, because you're not necessarily using the joysticks and the triggers on those, and so you're more fingertipping it, and then you're not going to have this sloppy extra finger problem that I seem to be accumulating or having while playing this. Also, interestingly enough, I chose the blue card. Somehow I'm in the red one. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, so that'll just give you an idea. I'm just kind of trying to play with the joysticks and stuff, see how things work out, and everything seems to be working really well. These things are so responsive. They feel good. You're not going to get a better set of joysticks for sub $50. It's hard to get them sub 100. Like I said, the only one that's really close, or maybe, you know, equal, possibly slightly better, but not for this price, is the Retroid Pocket 2S. So I can't wait for Anbernic to maybe clone these Hall effect sticks instead of trying to clone everybody else's handhelds. Let's go for one of the features or part of hardware that we actually don't exceed in maybe this time, and we'll steal this analog stick. This analog Hall effect stick is just, they need to steal it. It doesn't look as nice down here, like I said. Let's see if, I don't know if there's a camera angle I can do to actually make it so you can see this, but it's just a thin post down there. It doesn't have all the extra goober junk to, you know, hide it or prevent dust from going down, it looks like. I hope that there's a dust shield there, but it doesn't look like there is. But it's just like a little metal post. Probably plastic, let's be honest. Most of these are plastic. That would be the only thing I could see preventing someone like Anbernic from doing this. Also, I don't think I can pull it. I can pull these stick covers off. Cool. There is actually slits in these stick covers where the actual posts are about to hit the plastic, so it actually is giving it more travel that way too, which is pretty awesome. So there was a lot that went into maybe making these. Sweet, I wonder if it swaps stick top. We could find out if these are the same as the S real quick. The thing that makes me nervous that these stick tops came off so easy is once they came off on my Odin, they come off all the time. It drives me nuts. Nope, they don't fit. Too bad. Too bad, so sad. Wait, maybe I'm backward though. Hold on. I can't see in this light. There's so much light I can't see. Boom! Look at that! Well, all B. They swap right over. Oh yeah, it feels good. Now, this one does feel a little different. I'm guessing it doesn't have those slots in it. Oh, it does have the slots. Weird. Oh, it's a little bit shorter. So there you go. So that would be the difference. Is this one here is just the black one here from the 2S is just slightly shorter. That's crazy. So if we just pause the video right here and just stopped and just went over it, this device works really well for the person that just wants something that works out of the box. Hold, please. Oh, that didn't sound very good. This is just for that person that wants something out of the box that's going to work. They don't need to worry about tweaking it. And honestly, if they worried about it, they would be really upset because they wouldn't be able to tweak a whole lot. So for anybody that's been in this for a while, it could be frustrating, but also you know that everything is going to work. Now I'm just going to discuss what the future of this handheld looks like real quick and just show you just a small glimpse of what this will be like moving forward. All right, we're going to take these out. So there is a new operating system out there called Plum OS. I'm already not on the newest version, which is why we're doing a first look video more or less, and we're gonna get a first look maybe at Plum OS as well. Version 5 came out yesterday, and I just haven't had a chance to download it yet. This is moving so fast that it's not worth making a video about it quite yet, or make it the focus of this video, because the future of this is very bright. For a handheld that's only been out for about 2 weeks now, it's already gotten so much love, and this is exactly what I was hoping was gonna happen with this. It's much faster than we saw on some of our other mini handhelds this year. This is right out the gate, and not to say those don't get stuff fast. This is literally like, we have an entire full OS running here already. So I have changed my theme so it looks identical to the other, just so it's not so off-putting or hard to tell the difference. I am running 49 systems on here, maybe 48. I think I might have just deleted one. It can run over 50 different systems for gaming on here. Anywhere from Atari all the way up into your Dreamcast, which works better on this particular OS than it did on the factory one. Now the factory one, like I said, did also yesterday get a software update, so interestingly enough, they both got on the same day. This runs things so well. So we already kind of looked at PSP, we looked at that Dreamcast. I don't know why GameMT included Saturn on this. I mean, it's pretty aggressive on a 3566 or 3562 in this case handheld to have Saturn on it. And I think I've talked about this in a previous video too, that had Saturn on a 3326. I don't know why people are starting to do that. It seems like you're setting yourself up to fail. You can kind of make it work. I mean, it's included on this as well. But here's some things that you're going to see that are going to be different. So as I went through and scrubbed my playlists, you can see I also have whatever I could find art and stuff like that for. Now, also video. If there's video available, I'll have video on it. This has, with the new update that came out yesterday that I have not downloaded yet, it does actually have Bluetooth support for headphones as well as controllers. So that's pretty cool. The profile must have been in the chip that's in here, so they were actually able to get headphone support. The other thing is with a dongle now, you can get Wi-Fi. So if I run a Wi-Fi dongle, I use it for scraping box art, but mostly important for me, and we talk about this on the channel, is I got access to retro achievements now. Pretty sweet, right? But what I wanted to show you before I decided to reboot the device is the difference in that menu system. So if you're going into the menu system to make changes, this is going to allow more of changes. So here for instance, on the first screen, when you hit this, you're going to get pretty much the same thing, except for they added a launch screensaver option. So that looks pretty much like it did before, right? But if you hit the start button now, you actually do get the full Emulate menus that are on here. And these menus will give you everything from your game settings. So without going to RetroArch, you could actually make those changes right here. You can change your cores, you can do all that kind of stuff, aspect ratio, anything like that. So this is actually even just simplified to the point where a user that maybe doesn't know or isn't comfortable with RetroArch, these are the same settings you're going to change in RetroArch, but they're conveniently put in one place for you. They've done a very good job curating this as far as how it's all set up. And then you do, again, have access to your retro achievements and things like that, which I think is the most important thing of having Wi-Fi on here. This also does allow you to do a scrub mode to find all your games that do have retro achievements, so it can badge them for you. Not every operating system I've found over the course of the years doing this does that, but it is really nice when they do that, because then sometimes it can be your make or break decision. I try not to let that decide whether I'm going to play a game or not, but that makes maybe sometimes decide if I want to play it on this that has Wi-Fi, or play it on one of my handhelds that does not have Wi-Fi, like my 28xx that doesn't have Wi-Fi. Maybe I want to play it on there. But this is just a sneak peek as to what's coming. This should do over-the-air updates. My card is full, so I actually need to go and delete some stuff off my memory card, because right now if I try to do this, it'll try to do an update, and then it'll come back and it'll tell me it fails, and that's because my memory card is full. You can find these things between, usually about $5 on Aliexpress, or if you want to get this one, particular one, I can throw a link down on my thingamabob for it. I got it off Amazon. I think I got it on sale on like Prime Day or something for really cheap. This is a very good one though. It works on pretty much every handheld I've ever tried on. I do a video where I went through about half a dozen of these things trying to find one that worked on a handheld about 6 months ago. So it's hard to find ones that work on, especially on Linux. This one seems to work on everything, so I can throw a link down on my thingamabob for that. I also wrote up an article on this whole device and started to touch on Plum OS. I didn't get too into the weeds on it, but just kind of the discussion that's coming out. I'm working on doing a write-up on Plum OS and how to use it, how to install it, all that kind of stuff, and then I'll make a video to complement that when that is complete. But I do want to wait till Plum OS is more mature, because it seems to be updating 2 or 3 times a week right now. So we'll wait till they pump the brakes for at least a week or maybe 2, so that we have an OS that's, if you go to do it, it's going to look the same and operate the same as what I'm telling you to do in a setup video, where things aren't moving around, because right now they're just trying to get their feet on the ground. But it is nice to see that there actually is something out there for you that can make this handheld perform the way, not quite to where you'd want it to be, but it's getting really damn close in comparison to what it starts off with. And even out of the box, if you're a new user, you're going to love it. If you're not a new user, it might drive you nuts. So some things I do love and hate about this device. we'll go through here real quick. I don't love that this thing doesn't have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth working out of the box like it says it's going to. Also, the fact that I have to use a Bluetooth dongle, even though in all the sheets I've had, even prior to its launch, when we thought it was coming out in June, all say built-in Wi-Fi. As far as I know, there's no Wi-Fi in here. If there is, I guess I never tried it without a dongle, so maybe it exists and I'm not even using my dongle. I don't know. But there are a few things about this device, so we'll start off with the cons here real quick. Or I guess go into some cons here real quick. This device feels spray painted, so it doesn't feel like it's the most premium plastic that's out there. And what makes it feel even more spray painted is the lines aren't straight in a lot of places. And if you look at it, the plastic is straight. It's actually the paint. And you can get some good examples. There's a drip mark right here, right? So it's like spray painted. And then if you look at my back vent here, see if I can get it in a good spot here for you. You can see that some of the vent holes have drips of paint in them. So they're actually covered because they're full of paint. So I think that's part of why some reviewers, myself included, feel like this maybe feels kind of cheap, is because of the paint that's on here isn't perfect. Now, I like the orange color and a hell of a lot better job than I would do painting this, so I'm not going to really complain about it, but that would be the one major flaw other than the Wi-Fi Bluetooth thing not working out of the box. And then, well, I shouldn't say that. That's one of the two major flaws. The other major flaw I have, and it looks like I'm not alone, is memory card 2 sticks out and it gets stuck on all kinds of stuff. So now this one bothered me, memory card 1, but it's actually pretty close to flush. This is not close to flush at all. And I'm afraid that it's going to go shooting across the room. Let's see if I can get a good angle of it. There, that's probably the best angle you're going to get. So if you look at it, it's sticking out quite a bit. I did post some questions about this over on the Retro Handheld Discord, so we'll see if MagicX gets back to me. I know that Sean from MagicX is pretty active on there, so maybe he'll hit me back up. I'm not sure if this is normal or not, but that does kind of drive me a little bit insane. Outside of my OCD, I have a fear that if this just gets touched just a little bit, it's going to do that. So I've had 1,000 of these cards go flying across the room, and I find about half of them, and I hate to get pretty deep into the weeds on this card here and just have it get lost because it touched something. You know, if it bumps into something just right, it's going to shoot out. It didn't take really anything. I mean, again, just right off the corner of my finger, and it shoots right out of there. That's a concern of mine. So outside of the paint thing, you know, there's a body line issue maybe. I think that maybe that this was supposed to be a little bit thicker, and it didn't get thick enough. Other than that, though, I mean, this is everything that I kind of dreamed it to be. It has everything that you would want it to have, especially now with this new Plum OS, and we'll see if more operating systems and or this one continues to update. As it sits right now, if Plum continues at the rate that they're going, I mean, I would be cool with that just being the only one, really, for a 3562. I don't know how many people are going to write that. You might see ArcOS dabble in it, just with all the different rack chips that they do. But the future's bright for this handheld, and so I think that this is a good pickup. This is very well on the potential list for this to be my handheld of the year this year. Now that back to school's coming in, and I'm going to be waiting in the parent line again, I am looking for that thing that I can put in my pocket, and this works really well as a pocket-built device. Also, the price is right. You know, something happens to it, it's not the end of the world. I would prefer nothing to happen to it. That is kind of what it is. I forgot to also talk about this has upward slope on the shoulder buttons that I really enjoy. So as I'm doing things that I like about it, it does have an upward sloping shoulder button. Kind of hard to catch a camera, but it does kind of do a whoop, kind of from this angle all the way up. And so it does help differentiate the two buttons there. I don't ever feel like I'm going to hit the wrong button. I think they're done pretty well that way. But I think that's where we're going to leave that here today. What do you think of the MagicX XU Mini M? Is this a device you've been looking at, waiting for? Is it just scratching that itch maybe of something you might want to get? If you just want to collect it, or just get it for somebody who's not into the hobby at all, and just hand it to them. The list's curated well, the games are on there well, the systems work well. They could work better, but they work well, and they don't have to worry about accidentally screwing something up. I don't know, I think that's where it sits today. I think tomorrow, at the rate that this firmware is updating, tomorrow, it might very well be for the more hardcore user. But anyways, that's all I got for today. Don't forget, every time you like this video, new handheld is born. Also, comment down below. I love reading your comments. Share this video with your friends, because sharing is caring, and we care about each other right here. Also, check out some of these videos here at the end of the video. And when you're doing that, you could subscribe to the channel, because you're going to get hooked. There's a subscribe button right there on the screen for you. Also, a couple of videos that Google and YouTube say, hey, you're going to like these. You should probably check them out. That's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.